Take a look at the tech move from last week. I want to do it with Gene Munster, Deepwater Asset Management managing partner. Good morning to you. Gene, we've been on quite a wild ride when it comes to the NASDAQ and some of these tech stocks. I think there's a question about, given where some of the big tech and AI stocks are right now, whether you're a buyer, whether you're a seller, whether you're a holder.
Andrew, I am a buyer here. I continue to believe we're in the first stage. This may be hard to wrap many heads around. First stage of a 3 to 5 year bull market. There is a headline in the Wall Street Journal today talking about the market is really, really optimistic right now, and I believe we're still just beginning. That typically is a negative sign when you start to see headlines like that, but I do believe, Andrew, that we're going to continue this. And I think September is going to be just an important step towards that 3 to 5 year bull market. We got, of course, what's going to happen with Apple next Monday. This is the biggest event for Apple in over the past decade, I would say. Second, I think there's going to be a changing view of what over the next month over how investors view Nvidia. And last, of course, we have Tesla, the October 10th event. We're going to get some anticipation around that. I think when you put those three kind of cornerstone elements together, I think you're going to continue to see the tech trade move higher in the month of September.
Okay, Gene, let's talk about those three names, though. Let's start with Apple. And there is a view, I think, based on the 30% move on this stock since May, that there's going to be a super cycle style buying pattern around the new phone. Do you believe that this year is that? Do you think that gets pushed out to next year? I ask because it's not clear that all of the sort of AI functionality is going to be embedded in the phone and available this fall.
So it's going to be some bumps, some good, some bad over the first couple quarters, but ultimately I believe that this can go much higher. I think if you look at what happened with the iPhone 6 a decade ago, it was up 12%, with the iPhone 5. The iPhone 6 was up 52%. It just absolutely ripped, Andrew. So I think that this can certainly move higher. I think that ultimately, we're going to see this big upgrade cycle coming. And a question I'd have for you, Andrew, is do you believe that that these features are going to be exciting enough to move it higher?
I don't know. I'm somebody who oftentimes gets the new phone almost every year. I love the products, as you know, and I'm a geek when it comes to this tech. What I don't know is I use ChatGPT and other products like Claude from Anthropic and Google's product as well, and I can do that right now using either their apps or going to their websites. The question is, how integrated ultimately does it have to be into the OS itself? And how, even if it is, it doesn't even sound like it's going to be fundamentally integrated in certain cases, right?
The integration, of course, is going to get rolled over the next year. But I just want to put some context. I mentioned that iPhone 5 to iPhone 6, that massive acceleration in growth rate. And the reason why that's so important, the reason why the iPhone 6 had that breathtaking growth is because it had a feature, the first larger screen that consumers really got excited about. In the case of these AR features, you are correct. It's going to take a year or so to roll out. But if they're as good as I believe, I think these are going to be features that when consumers see them, they will view them as must-have. I just want to put some quick context into the sensitivity around the numbers. Is that the iPhone upgrade cycle, it's typically a 5-year upgrade cycle. If the cohort that is supposed to upgrade in calendar 26, so call it a year out, if 10% of those decide to upgrade in calendar 25, that takes iPhone growth to 15%. The street's currently looking at 7%. I asked the question about, how big are these features? How do you feel about them? I think consumers overwhelmingly are going to embrace these features. It may take a few quarters, but I think you're going to see meaningful upside to Apple over that period.
Gene, I am super excited about it. I just don't know if I'm representative of the common man. I like to think I am. But, Gene, here's a separate question. Nvidia, at this point of the ball game, what inning are we in for them?
I think we're in the third inning, and that ultimately I think that there was a misunderstanding of what happened with guidance. They guided up by 2.5% for the October quarter. Previously, when they guided for the July quarter, they guided up 5%. So there's this narrative about this deceleration. But keep in mind that Blackwell slipped. They didn't use that language, but clearly, if you go back and look at the transcripts from 2 quarters ago to the July quarter, it slipped by 3 months. That's $3 billion, they said, several billion. You factor that in, Nvidia would have raised guidance by 12%, not 2.5%. So I think this is still very early. We own Nvidia at Deepwater. We think that it is still reasonably priced at 35 times and can grow faster than what the street thinks next year. And in 2026, ultimately, the risk for big companies not to invest in this is just too high. Nvidia is going to be a big beneficiary of that.